We'll keep checking in on Stan Sivka to see how he's doing throughout the day, but we do have some bonus stuff for you now, which is going to be Thijs versus Dethklok's final game. This series was finished earlier. You did get to see some of the games, but we thought, you know, because we've been having a look at Thijs as well, let's see how his series actually finished up. So looks like it's going to be the Mage and Warrior matchup.
Yep, and this is a not quite as aggressive as the full-on Pirate Warrior. He's running with the Dragon Warrior build here in Dethklok, and that gives him less of a chance to end the game just catastrophically early for Thijs before the Reno can even come down. But it does mean he has the extra resilience that he might need to be able to beat a Reno if it comes down. And as we mentioned, we won't give away the results of this necessarily, but this game did go the distance here, and it was the extra resilience in Dethklok's deck that was even put him in with a chance of going this long against Thijs.
Yeah, exactly. Normally with this deck, you know, the Mage clears once, and then that's just it, right? You know, it's very
against
difficult.
the Pirate Warrior, right?
Yeah, sure. Well, even to a certain extent against Dragon as well,
sure. Okay.
because they build up a resilient board, and then it's cleared once, and depending on how the game's gone and how many resources they've got in hand,
right,
them dropping one big guy a turn is actually just not enough, because Mage can normally keep up.
Yeah, it depends. You know, if they've got like a draw that was heavy in Azure Drakes and they picked up the Curator, Life Tap from Finley, something like that, then they can potentially push through a couple of AoEs one by just balancing the board with the level they want. But you saw Thijs there had the early Kazakus, no Reno in sight yet, but Dethklok also has that early frothing sticking to the board, and against Reno decks, as I mentioned when we were casting Pirate Warrior against a Reno deck on the main coverage, is that sticking a frothing to the board is one of your real big checklist items in this matchup. Is how do I engineer a situation where a frothing hits the board and gets to attack twice?
Yeah, because if you can get away with that, it just leads to all kinds of ludicrous amount of damage, to be honest.
Right.
And can just straight up actually win you matchups in general. So Thijs is just going to be taking his time with this turn, actually working out how he wants to respond. Because one of the kind of weird issues with Kazakus against this style of warrior is the 3/3 body doesn't actually do that much.
No.
Versus Pirates, well, you probably just kill something that's on the board with Kazakus and you're like, yeah, great job. I got a cool potion, and I traded with a cool potion. Yeah. Hopefully the freeze one. So it's like victory, but then Kazakus doesn't get too much work done on its own and needs some additional help to deal with some minions, and there's the answer to the frothing for now.
For now, but he dealt with one. Can he deal with two is the question Dethklok is going to pose here, and he's definitely fully entitled to make this play because that was not an efficient answer to that Frothing Berserker by any means. So if he couldn't answer one, it seems perfectly reasonable for him just to slam in the second, try and push from there. But there you can see Kazakus Potion now coming into play, and he's very, very thankful he did commit that second Frothing to the board, or otherwise he would have very few threats on board.
Yeah, definitely a risky maneuver though, because whenever after you see Kazakus and the potion still in hand, whenever you commit more minions to the board that are full health or less, like you can just be wiped. Sure. And then a lot of the time, if you're wiped, you fall very far behind. If there's the other side of the potion is the resurrect minions, or some of the 5/5 as we can see. There are a few ways that can cause some issues, but he did get away with it. And as you said, it actually turned out that sticking that second frothing was a huge impact into this game.
Right, and here's the thing. When you're playing the aggressive deck, you are inherently always, to an extent, the risk taker. So when Kazakus comes down, if you're thinking, oh god, this play that I'm going to make is going to get blown up by 4 damage AoE, that 4 damage AoE is only a 53% shot that they picked it up off a 5-mana potion. If you're going to, as the aggro deck, play around 50% outs the entire game, you are not going to deal a great amount of damage throughout the game.
Also, as well, it's about what the turn could be. Well, what's the other option, right? If the other option is do nothing, then yes, you should probably play the minion because you need to win. And especially because the Twilight Guardian wouldn't have been effective. It wouldn't have came out as a taunt or with the extra attack. The frothing was definitely the way to go. It can just be a bit risky sometimes.
For sure, but Dethklok can keep going now. Blackwing Corruptor, it's a little bit off curve in the sense that, yes, you can 5+2 with your hero power, but the armor is doing very little in this matchup a lot of the time. Thijs does have an Antonidas kind of win condition thing going on in his deck, but generally playing the same low curve style that we've seen from most people. That Harrison Jones in his hand can potentially do a lot of work, though, against this deck if he picks up an additional Fiery War Axe later on. But it is going to be the Blackwing Corruptor, just by far the best play on the board, even though it's a little bit inefficient on mana. It allows him most flexibility by going 5+ hero power this turn. He then has 4+4 next turn, or 6+ hero power again on the next turn. So this just opens up his turn 8 for the most possibilities.
Yeah, and he's just a big dude as well. Like, even though, excuse me, even though the Dragon Warrior is a little bit slower than Pirates, you still want to beat the major, right? You don't really want to try and play for the long game.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, pound on the pressure here. Now we'll contest the Azure Drake.
That is a really nice draw, actually, because that Alexstrasza champion can activate the 9/9 Crusher and still allow you to trade with the Drake for security if you would like to, while generating the 9/9 on the board. Really big draw for Dethklok, but it looks like he might be thinking about just all face in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's very tempting because the second they don't have an exact answer to all of your minions,
yeah,
or Reno, and even if they Reno, you're like, oh, great, because I just have 1,000,000 damage on the board. Then, you know, you can put yourself in a very strong position. The thing is, obviously, we can see that there is an Ice Barrier and, you know, at least some form of AoE knocking around there for Volcanic Potion, but no direct way to actually deal with a 9/9.
Right, and the problem with leaving the Drake up is that you kind of open up indirect ways to deal with a 9/9, because then suddenly Flame Strike is a clear on it, for example. Flame Strike is a full board clear after you trade the Drake into the remaining 9/4 that will be left over afterwards. So I think these are the considerations going through Dethklok's mind, and I like this trade at the end of the day. I think if the 9/9 sticks, you're in a great position. Maximize your chances of getting the 9/9 to stick.
Yeah, especially with the Korkron in hand, right? You have burst from hand that you can use. If his hand didn't have any damage in it, there might be considerations to say, look, I'll punch him in the face, he'll try and clear, hopefully he doesn't clear everything, and then it's enough. But like you said, the 9/9 on the board, the Alexstrasza champion's there, and a Korkron available, so this is starting to stack up to be very, very difficult for Thijs here. It does get the Ice Barrier down, though, so we'll get that +8 health to pretty much soak up almost the hit of the Crusher.
Yeah, so 22 in total right now, but there is 12 already, plus that 4 from the Korkron, 16. He's going to front-load the Twilight Guardian to start with here, and he's going to hold back that Korkron Elite for a bit of surprise damage. But speaking of surprises, he has the ultimate surprise, although in this revealed deck list format, nothing will truly come as a surprise to Thijs, but Deathwing, that ultimate trump card that can come down as a last resort if he feels like all his other options are exhausted.
Yeah, and as well as Dethklok here in this position, what would be in my mind at least is, I'm getting to the point where my board is going to have to be cleared. If it's not cleared, I win. If it's cleared, I'm also getting to the point where I have no cards left, and the card I do have left is Deathwing, which is a great one to, you know, clear, say, just any form of AoE, then small refill from the mage. You just drop Deathwing, you don't care about discarding, say, one card potentially, and you put a huge threat on the board that probably can't be dealt with, because you've seen how difficult that, like, Thijs has found dealing with this board, never mind a 12/12.
And look at that, the Respect tries to freeze out the Twilight Guardian to prevent that last piece of damage going through, but the Fiery War Axe pickup means that combined with the Korkron Elite, that draw is just lethal damage, and Dethklok is going to be the second player this tournament now to upset Thijs.